Hello everyone, welcome to the week 3 of the Youth, Gender and Identity course offered by the Department of Psychology. We will be looking at the concept of identities, multiple identities. We will be looking at two major theories, psychosocial development theory proposed by Erik Erikson, Marcia's identity status. We will also be looking at three major topics, the causes for family conflict, that is family youth conflict. The second topic is the relationships that siblings are going to have when they enter the stage of youth or when they are transitioning to adulthood, and also the intergenerational gap that is being experienced by our youth and with their parents. When it comes to the concept of identity, identity refers to who I am or what I am. A person can identify themselves with multiple identities. Some of the examples are race, ethnicity, religion, sexuality, and gender. Now we are going to learn about Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. There are 8 stages of psychosocial development which are proposed by Erik Erikson based on the age group. But we are only focusing on the 2 stages, that is the 5th stage of psychosocial development, which talks about identity versus role confusion, and the 6th stage, which is intimacy versus isolation. First, we will cover the 5th stage of psychosocial development, that is identity versus role confusion. So, according to Erikson, he is saying that the young people are going to face three major issues. The first one is the choice of occupation. The second one is what are the values they would love to live by. And the third one is developing a satisfying sexual identity for themselves. When the young people are actually finding trouble when they are trying to settle for kind of occupational identity, or when they feel like the opportunities are very much limited for them, they are going to be at risk for certain negative behaviors, like them committing some kind of crime, them trying to fall into this early pregnancy, etc. So basically this stage, that is identity versus role confusion, it falls under the age group of adolescents. So according to Erik Erikson, this is the period of time when the young people can search for commitments in which they can be faithful. So basically, they are going to develop the virtue of fidelity if they are able to actually resolve the stage very well. Fidelity can be considered as sustained loyalty, faith, or a sense of belonging or identification to friends, companion, etc. So, one of the dangers that a person can face is role confusion or identity confusion, even though some extent of identity confusion is normal. But if they are having this identity or role confusion in a very major manner, it can lead to delay in reaching the psychological adulthood. The next stage is intimacy versus isolation. So what happens is, if the individuals or if the young adults, so this stage is happening during the young adulthood period, so if the young adults are not able to make deep personal commitments to themselves, then they can be at the risk of becoming overly isolated, or they will be very much into themselves. They are going to work on resolving the conflict of intimacy, competitiveness, etc. So intimate relationship, when we consider about intimate relationship, because this is the period of time in which young adults are going to maybe find a partner, marry, think about having kids, etc. So The resolution of this stage will result in the virtue of love. That is, there will be a mutual devotion between the partners who are chosen to share their lives, grow their family, have children, etc. So, one of the major criticism for this theory is he's excluding the single, celibate, homosexual, and childless people because, according to him, the stage will resolve or the resolution of the stage will result in the virtue of love. So this is one of the criticism that he is facing for his theory because it is excluding single, celibate, homosexual, and childless people from his blueprint of healthy development. Next, we are going to learn about Marcia's identity status. So, when it comes to the age group of adolescent, it is the period of time they will be having a lot of confusion, especially when it comes to having a career or selecting a career path. They might be absolutely clueless or confused, or maybe we have experienced that as well. According to Marcia, there are four categories. One is identity achievement, identity foreclosure, moratorium, identity diffusion. So, before we move into these stages individually, we will have to learn about two important terms. First is crisis or exploration, second one is commitment. So, crisis or exploration means the person is trying to make a conscious decision. They are actually trying to explore their options, and commitment basically means committing to that particular belief, ideology, occupation, etc. So here is a table which shows the four identity status. So we will be looking at each of it. So in identity achievement, it means the person had actually explored a lot of alternatives, even when it comes to their, for example, we'll take the example of career while we are focusing on these four identity status. So it will be easy for you to actually understand. So suppose a person, while they are trying to decide what they are going to be, they might the people who have achieved identity achievement had actually explored lot of alternatives, and finally they found a career or a role in which they feel like they are going to do great. So here the commitment is high and they have done a pretty good exploration of their alternatives, which means they are in a very good place. The second one is identity moratorium. So, in identity moratorium can also be considered as good because, in a way, moratorium means delay or holding pattern. Here, the crisis or exploration part is high and the commitment is low. So, here they are actually exploring or they are actually gathering information and trying out activities. They are trying to find values, or maybe even when it comes to the job, they will be trying to see a career path which they think will suit them very well, which is also very good because they are not actually rushing into any particular career without thinking. Next is identity closure. Here, what happens is the commitment is very high, but the crisis is low. Here, the individuals are not at all exploring their alternatives. So we can actually see this in even in our real life as well. We can see certain people whom we know, they will be telling like, my father is a doctor or my parents are doctors, so I would also love to be a doctor. So here they are not actually looking at whether they can actually hold that career, whether it is actually suiting them, etc. So here what happens is, even if they commit after a point of time, if they realize that it is not good for them, then they will be living their life like, oh my god, what I was doing for these past years. The last stage is identity diffusion. Here, the crisis or exploration is also low and the commitment is also low. The person is not at all trying to do anything for to search for their career or their values or goals. They're not at all trying to even explore the alternatives, etc. They're just staying there, lacking a clear direction. So we have already covered two important theories. Now we will be looking at what are the causes for parent-youth conflict that can occur in a family. So basically, we are looking at a study which is done by Clark, Preston, Rexon in 1999, and they had found that there are six common type of conflicts between the aging parents and their adult children. First one, there is difference in the communication and interacting style. There is difference in habits and life choices. Even when it comes to raising the children, the parents and the youth are finding clashes. There can be differences in ideologies, whether it is political or religious. Even when it comes to work preference or work ethics, there is difference, and also about maintaining their household. But apart from this, the major problems were in communication style and also about disagreements over their habits and lifestyle. So these are the important problems that usually occur. Now, when it comes to sibling relationship, usually the um, when the child, after they reach emerging adulthood, or at the point of time when they marry or they're having a family and all, it is said that they would be more close to their siblings. They may even consider their sibling as a friend. But if there has been a history of parental favoritism or sibling rivalry, it can actually disrupt the bond siblings have even in adulthood. And also, when the family is experiencing very good positive relationship between adult siblings, it can actually lead to good psychological well-being. And also, when a family is having 5 to 10 siblings, there are a lot of people, right? So they feel like they are so close, and it can even replace the friendship they have because they are always together. They have a very good bond as well. The last topic for this week is intergenerational gap. So there are, due to many reasons, we can see this generation gap existing. Some of the reasons can be the technological divide. So if we look at the present generation, we are more good in technology, we are more tech savvy compared to our parents or our older generations before us. Even when it comes to culture, there is shifts. The level of educational opportunities we are getting is different. Economic disparities are different. The communication styles that we follow are different. So there are lot of reasons for which this generational gap existing, and these 5 points are just very we just took the main 5 points, but there are many if we actually look into. So, what are the solutions that we can come across to solve or to bridge the generation gap? We can actually develop interdisciplinary education program and technological literary initiatives which will actually help the older generations to come in terms with what is happening right now. We can also encourage opening, making them communicate or have an honest communication with the generations. Or we can also introduce activities in which the older generation and the present generation can collaborate and work together. So these are the certain steps that can be done to actually reduce the gap between the generation. So that's all for today's lecture. Thank you. Have a great week ahead.